All right, so we're starting today on putting in the squids into the game. So first we need to create the sprites. There's 2 sprites we need for this one. Even though we're making 4 squids, we're actually creating only 2 sprites for that. Okay, in the book, well, maybe just call them big legs. I just don't like the name. It's kind of lame. Okay. And we're going to load that sprite. Here's the big one. Remove background. Collision mask. We'll do precise collision checking. And say OK. You don't want to center it. And then you also want to create the small one. Because it's just a smaller version of that. Okay, so let's add the objects for the big legs. And we'll use our sprite. It's not solid. And this big leg is going to act like as our parent. We talked a little bit about blocks and how you have all the blocks have the same parent, block 1. We're going to do something similar here. So we start here, and we want to create a collision event then between this and pop. So let's do that. Here's pop. Again, we're adding a collision event. Our new object. And well, what we want to do is just destroy the big leg. That's about all we need to do. You have to be careful when you do the destroy, because you don't want to destroy pop. You want to destroy the thing pop crashed into, and that's the big leg. So you have to choose other. Okay? So choose other for that. Now, there's something that we haven't talked about yet in this game, at least, is a controller. Just like we had in the Lazarus game, the controller is going to keep track of like the global stuff to see whether or not we're going to be moving on to the next level. Now what moves you on to the next level is when all the squids are gone. So we're going to have the controller actually count that up. So we say create object, and this is weird. You create an object that doesn't have a sprite. These are invisible. They have to be in the room, but the user's never going to see them, or the player's never going to see it. Yeah, pretty much. The controller is a really handy object to have. So here's object controller. We want to add a step event. So every frame we want to count up how many squids there are on the level. Okay. So I go here. And I'm counting up the big legs on that. And if that ever reaches 0, then we want to do 2 things. If you want to do 2 things that's dependent on this question, you need to put in a start and end block. Okay? So we'll put in a starter block for here. If there's no more big legs, what we want to do is sleep for about a second to allow the user to realize, hey, you did it. And set redraw to true. And then we want to go on to the next room. The question is, though, do we have to check to see if there's a next room before we go on to the next room? And normally we do, but not in this case, because we always have a last room and it's not going to have a controller in it. The last room is the congratulations room. So asking to see if there's a next room is not really necessary. We can just go there because we already know that we'll always have that. Okay? And you can put some kind of effect on it if you like. Don't forget to put in the closing block. What you're saying is, if this is true, do both of these things. If it's not true, then don't do anything. Okay? All right, let's see if this actually works. we'll go into our first room then. And this time we're going to add in a big leg. Yeah, the squids are going to have to, there has to be at least one squid there, or it'll go on to the next level. So here's one maybe, and here's one. Spend a little bit more time on your level design than that, but just for testing this is fine. And what you'll notice is that this doesn't work. Okay, so I say start, the game starts. I hit the one, that's nice. So it looks like the deleting is working correctly. Oh, so close. But notice how the level didn't end. So what's the problem? Yeah, this is what stumps a lot of people. They're like, oh geez, why isn't this working? And it's really simple. We haven't actually put the controller in the room, so it's not controlling anything. Okay, so you take the controller and just put it anywhere where there isn't already something else. You could put it up there, or if you want to be a little bit more obvious, you could put it next to Pop. It's not going to interact with anything in the game. It's invisible. Don't set it to invisible, but it's not visible because there's no sprite. So they put a little just blue ball there saying there's something here, but we don't have a sprite for it. So let's do the same test again and see if we get the desired behavior. Now this start is a little fast. You don't give a lot of time for the user to react to it. Okay, so there's the second one. Hopefully we'll get to the third one. Yeah, and it waits for a second and then goes on to the next room. I don't have more rooms than one, so looks like our mechanism is working out. Okay, so that's how they win the game. They complete the last level. They've destroyed all the squids. Now the reef is safe once again. Now the game asks us to create 3 other types of squids. So let's do that. We've created our sprites already, so we don't have to do anything special there. We did talk about in the controller actually putting in some of the cheats. And so we've been using the letter N for going to the next room. And again, we don't have to check because we're not going to put a controller in the last room. And then it'd be nice if we had a previous room in case you want to go backwards. And again, we don't have to check because we have a starting room that won't have a controller in it. So that should work. And then an R key, like Josiah was saying, is a good one just to restart the level. Not the game, but the level. Yeah, on the controller, that's where I usually put it. You can put them on Pop. Problem with Pop, though, is there's like, you'll see later on there's going to be thousands of Pops. And so if you put it on Pop, that's going to waste a lot of memory. Perhaps. Maybe not, but there's really no data. So here's restart game. Here's end game. I just want to restart the level. Restart room. That one, okay. All right, so now we have our cheats in there. We do it in the controller. That's a good place for it. So now we want to create the other types of squids. So the small big leg, which seems kind of like an oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp. I don't know if that's an oxymoron, but it's, yeah. Okay. Do we have to do anything in this? No, it just has to exist. so that Pop can crash into it. Okay, so we have our new small big leg. We're going to put that in the room, and we'll see if that works out. And what you'll find is this doesn't work, right? I always steal my thunder, but this doesn't work. The reason why it doesn't work is that the controller's counting up big legs, and the small big leg is not a normal size big leg, so it won't actually end the level. Try again. Okay. I went right through the small one. Notice that? It didn't disappear. And that's because we haven't created a collision event for it. But I contend that you don't have to. There's another way to do this. So the way to do this so that you don't have to set up a collision event with each type of squid. Remember, we have 4 types I'm talking about. So here's object big leg, but we don't have a collision event between object or the small big leg and Pop. Now you could add it here, but there's an easier way to do this. What you do is you go to the small big leg and you specify that the big leg's parent is the large big leg. Then all the events and all the actions that go with the big leg will now apply to the small one, and you don't have to write any extra code. Okay. Now there's 2 other types of squids we're going to need. One is a squid that moves from right to left, kind of fast, and then there's a smaller one that moves right and left. So let's do that. Again, we don't have to create any new sprites. We already have the sprites. And we'll call this object big leg move. And we'll use the big leg sprite. And we're going to add a create event, which will get it moving. And again, we're only moving horizontally. The paddle, object catch moves 10 pixels at a time. So maybe go a little bit faster than that. Well, let's just stick with 10. What this says is either go left or right when you start. It's kind of random which one it goes. We also need to add a collision event with the wall. And if it collides with the wall, we want to reverse our horizontal direction. That's on the Move tab. So if it hits the left wall, it'll go right. If it hits the right wall, it'll go left. The object big leg move, because it's going to be moving back and forth. In the create event, we get it moving. If it hits the wall, we want it to go back the way it came. The important thing, though, is you want to set the parent to object big leg, because again, if Pop collides with it, you want it to disappear, regardless of whether it's moving or not. So the last big leg we have to do is the small moving one. Kind of a long name. And we'll use the small sprite. And in this one, we don't have to do anything. Nothing at all. If we do this, if we go to the parent and we say, I want this to move just like the big one, and I want it to do the same thing when it hits the wall. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the parent to big leg move. So that's not object big leg, that's big leg move. And big leg move's parent is object big leg. So here we have a parent relationship like a grandparent relationship. Okay? So we go to the pop object and say, okay, what do we have to change now for small moving squids? And the answer is no, we don't have to change anything, because all the squids are either object big legs or they're children of object big leg. Both first generation and next generation children. So let's see if our test level works out. Okay, so take a look now. We'll see if it goes away. Oh, I just missed. There we go. And go on to the next room. So you see there that it is disappearing, and it's going on to the next room when it's hit. Let's try adding a few more different types of squids to the room. Okay, so we'll put a moving big leg up here. And we'll put a small one up there too that moves. Play this game well enough. I win. Okay, so that's the big legs. There's a couple issues though still that make the game kind of hard to play. First of all, as soon as you start the game, Pop starts moving right away. You're not even given a chance to breathe right at the beginning of the game. You press the start button, and as you're reaching for the arrow keys, it's already moving and you might miss out where it's going. So we have to be a little bit nicer to the player here. One way is setting the start position for Pop to be a little bit lower, but another way you can make it, the intro to the game a little bit more appealing is we're going to create another Pop object. And all this Pop object does is it stays on the screen for a couple seconds and then changes itself into a regular Pop object, calling its create event. And that gives you 2 seconds of a non-moving Pop, which is kind of what you want. So I'm going to create a new object, and we're going to call it object Pop Start. And we'll use the standard Pop sprite. And all this object's going to do is sit there for a couple seconds and then change itself into a normal Pop. So in the create event, we want to set something called an alarm. Now, we haven't talked about alarms yet, I don't think. We did? When did we use the alarm? I'm trying to remember. Oh, for the little screen? Yeah. Yeah, and the high score thing too, yeah. Okay, so we have used alarms before, but there's two parts to alarm. There's the setting the alarm, and then what happens when the alarm goes off. So first we have to set it, and we're going to do that in the create event. Set the alarm. And we want this for 2 seconds. Now the default room speed is 30 frames per second, so we're going to set this to 60. So now we have the alarm set. Yeah. If they have the same name and they're in the same object, then it's a problem. But if they're in different objects, it doesn't cause problems. Each object has its own set of alarms. Okay, so here's alarm 0. When the alarm goes off, this is an event. It has the same symbol, so don't get them confused. You want to use the right one. Alarm 0. And what we want to do when that happens is we want to do a change object. So is this the first time we did change object? I think so. So we're changing the non-moving Pop to the moving Pop. So now we're just going to use object pop. And it's really important to set this to yes. What this means is that you want the create event of object pop to be executed. And it's important because that's what gets pop moving, is the create event. So you got to make sure you say perform events yet. Yes, that's not the default, so you have to change that. The last thing you have to do is you go into the room and you get rid of object pop and you replace them with object pop start. And it looks the same, right? Oh, that's a squid. It looks the same, but again, this is a stationary one. So now when I play the game, I can hit the start button and I have a little bit of time to get ready before pop starts moving. And you can adjust the time. That seemed a little long, but maybe a second. And so that gives, I think that's a little bit more fair to the player. Little kids have a very acute sense of fairness. So you want to be fair to your player. Unless you're coding Flappy Bird, and then you wouldn't want to be fair. Okay, so the last thing, this is what Conrad was mentioning, is when I don't want to have to restart the room every time pop leaves the room. So we're going to just restart the room in the outside room event. So we go to object pop, and we'll have to change this later because of other problems. But for now, we can add an outside room event. So you go to add event, go to object pop, add event, other, and then outside room. What should happen there when pop goes outside the room? Well, we can only go outside the room off the bottom because we've got walls over everywhere else. So we just want to restart the room. And that's this one. And that will move everything. Well, do we want to restart the room? I don't think we want to restart the room. Because without, all the blocks will come back and all the squids will come back. And you'd rather like pick up where you left off. Later on we're going to do lives. So maybe restart room isn't the right thing. So when it goes outside the room, we're just going to put a pop start. We want to delete the current pop, so you have it delete itself. And then you want to create something new, and this will be object pop start. And we're going to hard code a position here. If we look at our room, we can hover over pop and it tells us its coordinates. It's at 320 by 380. So we're going to use that always as our start position. So here, 320, 380, it's an absolute position. We're going to create object pop. Object pop start, yeah. Yeah, there it is. And don't check relative. This is an absolute position. It's not relative. And then in this create event, yeah, it keeps its stuff. Well, you get to choose. You get to choose where you want it to start. I tend to start it low because that gives the player a little bit more time. So I'm going to let pop go outside the room. Yeah. Okay, goes outside the room, pop start, Q. Okay? So that's the behavior we want. I was trying to make it so that you could put pop anywhere in the room and it would always start in that same place. But that's not going to work. Or at least it's not working now. I'll try to find a better way to do that. So I'll put that in the cleanup video. Okay? So today you should get all the four squid sprites put in place, the big legs, the collision event with big leg, the parent relationships, and the object pop start. After that, you can continue to build your levels. Now you can put different types of squids in them. So if you get done with the coding here, you can continue on with your level design. Next time we meet, we're going to talk about lives and how to control them. So that's next time.